And again, we're talking about 100% tax deductible right off, and you're on vacation anyways. VCRs, cameras. Now these items itself, you may already have home. The key is justifying these expenses through your business, and it's pretty easy as an entrepreneur. Something like a VCR. Again, one of the things here, in order to even keep your job today, is on additional training. So all you can do in the fastest way is just block your employee in front of a TV monitor, you throw on the videotape, and you write off the VCR as an expense. On the weekend, you just allow your kids to watch their videos. Same thing with cameras. Again, no matter what business you get into, whether it's a service, a manufacturing, or retail, most of the time, by taking a picture of a product, you'll find you can increase your sales or your response anywhere from 50 to 100%. So again, you're going to use your camera and justify it and write it off through your business. We touch on computers, dinners, lunches. Again, you have to eat, so why not write it off through a business? There are some limitations. It used to be you can write off 100%. Now you can write off only 80%, but I'd still rather write off 80% than nothing. Postage and stationery. Again, these are just typical expenses in a business, and there's a list of the other ones that are common in every business. But something like postage and stationery, let's say it's Friday afternoon, we're in all the real estate business, and we're planning open house. So we're inviting a lot of our customers in the neighborhood to come out to our open house. So it's critical to get this mailing out to our customers. But it's Friday afternoon, around 4:30, and we find out that our secretary just used up the last stamp. So we go right down to the post office, and sure enough, they're closed. And you still need to get this information out. Most of the time, you just find outside of the door, they have these vending machines. So you're going to put your $25 or $50 of loot into this vending machine. You send your literature out with the stamp. But what happens is when you put your change into this vending machine, you don't get a receipt. This is what we call a non-receivable deduction. And as long as you're claiming what's reasonable, the Minister of Revenue will not question this expense. But carrying that example forward here, say you're working full-time right now, you don't have access to a private line. Normally during your break or during your lunch, you're going to go to a payphone, put your quarter into this, and call back to your office to retrieve some messages or on your answering machine. A lot of times at the beginning, you may not be able to afford a photocopier. So what you can do is go down to the post office or the library, you put your change into these photocopier machines, you make your copies of your receipts and invoices, but you never get a receipt. And these things can add up to several thousands of dollars if you annualize over the course of a year. If you go downtown to do some business, these parking meters, half a day cost anywhere from $5 to $10. You put your quarters in there, again, no receipt. So at the end of the year, if you're working right now, you're making $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. After taxes, you're only going to take home $20,000, $30,000. But if you own a business here, what's going to happen is if you do your taxes right, you're going to take home $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. But it's more important that you understand how some of these tax strategies work. Because at the end of the year, if you don't have any expenses, you're going to pay taxes just like any other individual. So it's very important that you do write off these expenses as a tax deductible. So again, you may want to learn even after the seminar a little more about taxes. Minister of Revenue puts out what they call IT bulletins or interpretation bulletins. They used to be free, but as of January 1st, they started charging $40 to subscribe to this service. But this keeps you in touch of the different changes in taxes. Okay, so it's something you may want to subscribe to. Step number 4 here is setting up records for your automobile tax write-off. So next to your home here, the next major expense that you're probably paying for right now is your car. So again, by starting up a business here, you can write off your vehicle. Some expenses here, maintaining your vehicle includes oil and gas, insurance, licenses, interest on any car loans, minor or major repairs including service and parts, tires and batteries, allow deduction for depreciation. Again, these are just typical expenses that you use right now to maintain your vehicle. And again, you generally need a vehicle in a business to move your product from A to B itself. But in 1989, the government made a ruling because they realized there were some entrepreneurs out there who had 2 or 3 vehicles. And these weren't just station wagons. They were pretty expensive vehicles. And they said there's no way they can drive all 3 of these vehicles at any one time. But more, they said the maximum you can write off today would be $24,000 per vehicle. Okay? So even if you spend $30,000 a car, you can still only write off $24,000 of this amount. So your job as an entrepreneur here basically is have higher maintenance costs. This means every month you're going to have an oil change. Every 3 or 4 months you're going to have to change your tires and have a tune-up here. So that's the only way to write off some of these expenses here. Understand from a tax point, there's really no difference whether you lease the car or own the car. And one of the reasons we see business failing today is at the beginning they start off their business, they go and decide to buy a car for their business. But they're tying up $20,000, $30,000 worth of equity. And this is where they fail because they don't have enough cash flow. From a tax point, there really is no difference. Now, the form that you're going to need here to write off your vehicle here is called Employment Expenses Tax Guide. It's called a T2-2200 form here. And again, there are limitations. If ever you're audited, you have to keep track of your mileage that you use for personal versus business. So what you have to do is go down to Granite Toy, Canadian Tire. They have these little booklets for about $3-4. And all you do is document the amount you use in personal business. Now, having said that, I don't do it myself. As long as you're claiming what's reasonable. Normally accepted without a lot of these receipts and headaches. If you claim 30% per kilometer for business, that's considered acceptable. Now, if you're where you're traveling a lot and you're driving a lot with your car, here you may want to keep track of all those miles because you might be claiming up to 50 cents per kilometer because of the high cost to maintain your vehicle. But if you don't want too much headache, 30 cents is totally reasonable to the tax department. Okay. So again, understand from a tax point, there really is no difference whether you own this car or lease a car. Step number 5 here is designing your stationery, including possibly a logo, letterhead, business card, and envelope. Now right here, again, we have to understand, whatever business you get into, there's going to be some competition. And in most cases, the only thing they're going to remember you by is your business cards or your letterhead, especially if you're involved with mail or international trade, where your business card here or your letterhead is your ambassador to your business here. So you want to spend a little bit more on your stationery here. There's a lot of times you get a flyer in the mail. For $200, these guys will print 1,000 matching letterhead stationery for you. The problem is 1,000 other entrepreneurs have done the same thing. They give you 7 standard lines on black and white old copy paper here. Okay? So here you may want to consider a different color of paper, a different color of ink. The type style that you choose for your business can make all the difference. Now, about 10, 15 years ago, when you go to a printer, they would only give you about 10 or 15 choices of type font. But today, with computer, different software that's available, there's anywhere from 50 to 100 different type styles that you can pick from. And by choosing the right type style, it can make all the difference in the business for it. For example, if we're selling luxury cars, fur coats, or jewelry, you'll find using this type style can make a difference in just creating the illusion that this product is worth more than it actually is. If you didn't know anything about type style, you might pick something like this. You may be sending the wrong message to your customers. Okay? So it's very important that you look at type style, even when you do it with your brochures, your pamphlets, your flyers, choosing the right type style. If you're selling an item, it could make all the difference if you want to make an impression on your customers here. Okay? So we do recommend that you learn a little about how these type styles work, the size of the lettering, but ongoing. Next one here is your logo. First thing you want to do is model your company after successful companies. And if you look at any successful large company, they all have a logo. So eventually you do want a logo. You may or may not be able to afford it at the beginning because you can pay anywhere from $50 to $200 for a professional to do it. Don't try to do it yourself because it's going to look like you've done it yourself. Again, it has to be very professional because, again, this is the only thing that people are going to remember your business by. Okay. The main thing here is all your letterhead and business stationery should be matching. Don't print your business card from one guy and then get your letterhead printed somewhere else. They all should match itself. The next thing here, step number 6 is setting up communications for your business. So this includes a telephone, a P.O. box. Can you see it in the back there? Because I know there's a... Can you see the... Go ahead. Okay. First thing here is a telephone. I'm assuming most of you are going to be starting a business part-time. So what you may want to consider is to keep using your residential line. Because you're only going to be making 2 or 3 calls a day using your telephone anyways. But where it makes the difference here is in the actual cost. A residential line today is about $15, and a business line is about $75. And again, you're not going to use it any more than if you were to have a business line here. Again, if ever you're on, you have to keep track of what you use for personal and what you use for business here. But to get around here in using your residential line, what you want to do is take advantage of some technology that's available. So here, what you do is contact Bell Canada, and what you want to order is what they call Identicall. For about $3, they'll give you another phone number that you can use to advertise for your business. But more importantly, it comes with a very distinct ring, so you can answer by your company name when you hear this phone ring. Another feature you may want to consider is what we call call waiting. In business, you can't afford to miss any calls, especially at the early stages, whether you're just started yesterday or you've been in business for 5 years. You can't afford to miss calls because today competition is fierce. If you're own a variety store, it's not the guy down the street. I can tell you it's the guy in Bulgaria or the guy in Taiwan who's really your competition. Okay? So you can't afford to miss any calls. If your line is busy, you can be sure enough your competition will call someone else or your customer will be calling someone else. Okay? But here in the telephone, you may want to consider using call waiting for another $3. It lets you know that there's another party trying to get through. You press your link button, and if it's your friend, you can just hang up on them. Okay? The last one here is what we call forwarding. What's happened is you're working full-time right now, and if you're using your home residential line, if the phone's ringing, there's no one there to answer it. And normally we don't advise using an answer machine unless it's after hours. So what you want to do is call forward the line where you can be reached. If you have access to a private line, just call forward to your private line. But there is some technology where you can use a car phone today, you can use a handheld cellular phone. If you're going up to the cottage on the weekend, say on Thursday or Friday, you just call forward up to the cottage where you can be reached. The main thing is you can't afford to miss any calls, especially at the early stages here of your business. The next one here, now eventually you do want to get a business line. It might be 6 months down the road or a year down the road, but at that point you can afford to take on a business line. The next one here is a P.O. box. Now, you may want to use it as P.O. box simply because all large corporations use them. But more importantly, you can probably be working your business out of your home, and chances are the street you live on sounds like it's a residential street. So it's a dead giveaway you are working out of your home. But more importantly, for those of you who are from out of town, outside of Ontario, if say you come from a town like Grimsby or Thornton, they don't even know where this town is. So what you want to create the illusion here is that your company is located in a city like Toronto. Okay, so if you're involved with international trade, you want to have at least the image that you're located in a major city. Okay, but there's two types of P.O. boxes that you can rent here: the ones issued by the post office, or the ones from these mailbox services. Normally, we recommend using these private mailbox services. And these guys are located on the main street, but more what they do is rate you use of their address. There's a little cubbyhole that you can use, and you have access to this box 24 hours. Starting out, so again, you're working full-time right now, you're usually expecting different mail, different packages, and if you're working right now, and the post office or courier comes knocking at your residence, if you're not home, many times there's this wee little slip that you have to go down to the post office or the nearest depot to pick it up. And it might be that parcel that you've been waiting all day to show this buyer that you have an appointment the next day for. But if you're not there, you have to lose another day, you have to reschedule an appointment. But if you use one of these private mailbox services, if you sign off the authority, let them accept any parcels on your behalf, they'll page and let you know that there's a letter waiting for you or a box waiting for you here. And then after work, you just go down and pick up your literature. But more importantly, I guess they offer secretarial services. So here, if you've never been in business, you need to know how to write business letters. As long as you can explain to them what it is you want to say, they can do up the letters for you. They also offer answering services. You can't afford to miss any calls, so you call for your line to these guys, and depending on how much you pay for them, they'll answer either by a pleasant hello or by your company name itself. They offer telex and fax services. They're usually a depot for the post office or for various couriers. And it's usually a nightmare setting up, figuring how much it costs to put out certain parcels on boxes. These guys are a depot for that. They can show you the cheapest way to transport your products. Okay, so it's a one-stop shop for about $15 to $20 a month. It's definitely worth looking into. The next one here is a telex. And pretty much it's obsolete in Western or English-speaking countries. But some of the biggest opportunities today still lie in third world countries, Eastern Bloc countries, and they still don't have even a telephone line in most cases. So telex is still around if you're looking to do business in those countries. But the last one, which probably should be your first piece of equipment when you get into business, is what we call fax machine. Now, about 15 years ago, one of these fax machines would cost you about $10,000. So it would only be a manufacturer, a large company who can afford this unit. But today, again, with advancements in technology, you can pick up one of these, what we call a home fax machine, for about $300 or $500. So this should be your first piece of equipment. But more, this fax machine has totally revolutionized the way companies can do business today. If you're involved with mail order, if you're involved with export, if you're buying products anywhere outside of Toronto, it used to be if you have to place your order through the regular post or special delivery, by the time that person receives it, if you say you're sending it to Western Europe, it might take 2 or 3 weeks, or to the Far East or to China, where they have a bicycle to deliver the order to this guy. It might take 2 or 3 weeks before they get your letter or your order here. Then they have to package all these boxes and then ship it back. 2 weeks to a month could have gone by before you actually get this product. But with a fax machine, it's similar to a photocopier. But and the receiving unit gets a carbon copy of whatever you're trying to transmit. It could be a contract, it could be a letter, it could be just an order itself. But if we're working right now and they're sleeping, when they wake up, they're going to have an order sitting right there on their desk. By the afternoon, the box or the order could be right on their way itself. But it generally takes as long as it takes you to dial a phone number. If you're doing business locally, it doesn't cost you anything other than if you're calling long distance, it's just the charge of the phone call. Okay, so your first piece of equipment should be the fax machine. It'll save you the cost of buying another telephone handset for your business. Sometimes they have an answer machine built right into this unit. It can double up as a photocopier, because many times in business you have to make a copy of invoice or receipt. So for about $300 or $500, your first piece of equipment should be this fax machine. And in Ontario, I can tell you, it's totally legal as long as you get a hard copy in the mail within 24 hours if you want to enforce this contract report. Step number 7 is obtaining your vendor's permit, or in other provinces they call this a sales tax license. Now, you may or may not need it, but we don't recommend you get it right at the outset because it depends on how you participate in the distribution system. If you're a manufacturer and you're selling to wholesalers, you don't really need it because more you're going to be asking these wholesalers for this vendor's permit or what their number is. It's the end consumer who pays for this provincial sales tax. As you know, when you buy a product, you pay 8% in provincial sales